Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff and welcome to today's first impressions video, and we're looking at the Kpfw 1 Ausf A from Takom in 1:16 scale. This is kit number 1008 and it's my first 1:16 kit for a long time. I think the last one I built was the Kpfw, and I'm going back quite some time, so I'm quite excited to see what we get in the box. Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff and welcome to today's first impressions video, and we're looking at the Kpfw 1 Ausf A from Takom in 1:16 scale. This is kit number 1008 and it's my first 1:16 kit for a long time. I think the last one I built was the Kpfw, and I'm going back quite some time, so I'm quite excited to see what we get in the box. So this is a 2019 new tool that Takom have subsequently re-released in various different formats 5 times since. Most of their releases that followed this are actually an Ausf B, so this is the only Ausf A, and also MIG Ammo released a kit under their own name, which was effectively this kit, but they did change 1 or 2 parts in there as well. So this is the original release, still available, and it tells us that our hatches can be built in an open position, but there's no interior, so you're probably not going to want to do that, or you're going to want to put figures in to block them. Suspension and road wheels are movable, detailed static display model, clear parts and photo etch, 4 types of markings and fully workable tracks. On the end here we've got 2 of the markings. So one of them Poland 39 in the usual for that time period blue, grey and red brown camouflage, and then we've got Libya 41 with the overall yellow on the top of the blue grey, and we can see that there, which makes for a nice camouflage. Our box sides, they just emulate what's on the front, and then on this side here we've got a little map of the sprues, I suppose, for want of a different word, but it basically shows you the contents. There's not much in the way of photo etch, so it looks like a couple of grills. Oh, and then we've got the version that Ammo released, and I'm not sure if it was released at the same time or just after, but it's based on the same kit, but you can see it's got a slightly different hull variation, turret variation I should say, and is modelled as Spanish Civil War. So let's take a look what we get in the box. So the box itself is fairly flimsy, thin card, and then we've got a thin corrugated box which is doubled over on the 2 ends. It's relatively rigid, but for long-term storage in a stash, you're going to find that this box lid is going to crush, and it's already started to do that in the corners there. Quite a bit of space in the box itself, so things do move around. They seem to be bagged in pairs or singular, so probably this is the same sprue, so that's bagged all together. We've got all of our bits for the tracks in different bags. Some of them are those sticky resealable ones, some of them are Ziploc. Everything's bagged up, and then at the bottom here I can see we've got another bag with our instructions, decals, and other little bits and pieces. So let's have a look at our instructions. Okay, so we have a landscape stapled colour, I think, building manual. I'm not sure if it's colour. Actually, I think it's black and white on the inside, but the cover is colour, certainly. Gives us a little bit of history. We've got a nice technical drawing of the tank there. So all very nice. And then when we turn over, we've got some notes to read before assembly. We have a list of paints, which are all ammo MIG paints. Some instructions for decals and for removing PE. I don't like either of them. I particularly don't like that picture, because that's exactly how you bend photo etch unintentionally. And yeah. Anyway, let's not get stuck into that. Right, then we've got our parts map. So what have we got? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 sprues. 1, 2, 3, 4 major parts. Oh, maybe 5 major parts. Decals, cable, a little bit of photo etch. I think that might be clear parts, and then 18 little sprues of track links. So that'll be fun. And then we turn over and we start with step 1, and we seem to have a bathtub style lower hull already done. It's got some nice detail on it by the looks of it. And we're starting to put some castings, suspension parts, I always call them return rollers. I don't know whether that's the correct term or not, but that's effectively what they do. And then we're building up the wheels, and they look quite detailed. So we've got separate parts for the rims there, so they should look really authentic. That's very nice. We're making 6 of those, 2 of those. Then we're making 2 and 2 again, different handed sets of suspensions. So leaf spring suspension, but with a spring, and it's a spring that goes around a tube, so it's not like a shock absorber exactly, but it's just a spring. Yeah, very nice. And then it shows us building those up and what that looks like, and then we're putting that on the actual vehicle. So that's your 2 bogies on each side of wheels. So it's sort of 2.5, isn't it, really? A bit like a universal carrier as a size comparison. Then we've got the lower front hull plate going in. We've got the little bar that holds the 2 wheels sections together, keeps things rigid, I'm guessing. Then we're doing the same again on the other side. All nice. That should look good when it and it's all workable, so great if you want to pose it on a diorama display. Then we've got lamps. We've got an option there, so we've got covered or uncovered effectively, and then we're mounting those on the front upper hull plate, and we've got the tow hooks going in, that lamp we've just made going in, and so on. So that's the lower hull done. Then we're doing the tracks, and it tells us we've got 86 track links on each side, so individual track, individual pin for each one. So that will be interesting. Have a look when we look at the parts how we might go about doing that. Then we've got a couple of holes to drill, and we're working on the rear of the lower hull there, so adding some detail, which is nice. Then in step 12 we are continuing with that area, so we've got the locking pin for the tow hook, we've got the jack block and bits and pieces there, Be interesting to see if that's got texturing on it or not. Step 13, we're working on the mud guards. So we've got some tools and bits and pieces going in, some clips going on, building up the jack, which has got some nice detail on it, the ratchet detail and what have you. And then the wire cutters are being mounted onto the front of those. So that's unusual. I've not seen that before on a German tank. And then we've got the winding handle going on and some form of ring. Not quite sure what that's for. Then we're building up the silencer and exhaust. So we've got the sort of the flexible tube that's taking the gases into the silencer, and then we've got the actual exhaust pipe bit sticking out there. So 2 of those to build. Then we've got lamps going on, headlamps, and they've got cable moulded in, which is nice. And then that jack that we made back as a sub-assembly of part 13 is being added, and horn being added, fire extinguisher, 2 parts being added, and we've got things like axe and what have you being added there, plus some bracketry ready for the fire extinguisher. So that all looks nice and detailed. Then we're putting on the rear section of the mudguards before we attach the mudguards in place. So yeah, that's interesting. I think I'm probably going to put the tracks on later, build them up, make sure they fit at this stage, and then paint them separately, put the last pin in a bit later on in the build. There should be space to do that if you don't put the front mudguards on right at the until after the tracks are on. Then we're building up the central section of the upper hull. So this is where the turret will be mounted ultimately, and we have a little hatch there at the side because it's very cramped inside there. But we've got nice details like on the vision blocks. We've got the hinges which are being added. Then we've got the separate hatches. We've got details going on for the inside of those. So if you are going to have them open, and I will, you can see that. And I'll share with you why a bit later on. Then yeah, we've got separate outer detailed plates to go onto an inner frame, so they should be all moulded nice and crisply. So we've got an option for blank or with a vision block. So bit of research for an Ausf A in whichever scheme you're doing, because it doesn't tell you to put that on if you're in the desert, but leave it like that if you're in Poland, for example. I'm not sure that's correct, it's just an example. Right, then we're adding the front mudguards and adding this bit of superstructure. That's our photo etch, so we're going to have to roll that. That's our little covers to keep you away from the hot exhaust. Then what we're doing, we're building up more hatches here, smoke discharges, I think. Yeah, so quite a complex little thing we're building up there, and then that's getting added onto this back plate, which is sort of the engine compartment, if you like. So I'm not quite sure what that box is on the back. It looks like it's just a protective plate for the smoke discharges. The smoke discharge is mounted on the back rather than on the turret. Okay, interesting. So probably the mechanism to fire them is internal, whereas on some armoured cars at this period it's actually external. So yeah, interesting. We've got some form of hose here, so that must be I reckon that's the extractor fan at the front to stop condensation and that sort of stuff building up in this front area where you've got the motor and the driver sitting and what have you. Then we've got our aerial. It shows it in the down position. I don't know whether there's an option for up. Looks like there might be, because it just sticks into a hole, so we should be able to position that. That block there that it sits in, on the ones I've seen at Bovington Tank Museum, they are wood. They are not metal, it's just a wood trough. So yeah, don't weather it as it's metal. Then we're building up the inside of the turret hatch going on. We've got a simple mantlet with the 2 machine guns being mounted in, no back ends to them. Then we're mounting it in and putting a little hook on it, and that completes the build. So 22 steps, but you do have sub-assemblies in there, so you know it says that's 1 step, but it's clearly not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, isn't it? Right, then we've got our paint instructions. So we're seeing all angles of the vehicle, back, front, top and both sides, so that's good. And we've got our paint call outs there and our decals. It's a little small, but it's okay, it's viewable. You can get an understanding of what's going. So we've got, what's this, Poland September 39, 1st Panzer Division, 4th Panzer Division Poland 39, 10th Panzer Division France 40, Libya June 41, that's the 5th Light Division. Yeah, okay, I'm going to be probably doing it in African colours, I think. And the reason being is I've bought a couple of resin figures and they are African figures, and that's why I'll be modelling it all open. Take a look at the decals now, and these appear to be made by Takom themselves. There's no other branding on there. So the actual decals themselves are nice and thin, and the print is really very crisp. They're quite matte, which personally I like, but they get clear coated anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it? They do have a huge amount of decal film around them, and so the little palm trees there, you've got a whole big square around all of that, whereas it could be a bit triangular. Yeah, I mean, they've done it there, they've trimmed the corners off around the national markings, but yeah, I mean, they're not cartographed, but they're okay. In the bag with the decals, we have these 2 photo etch parts. This is the only photo etch in the kit, and it's the protective covers that go around the silencer of the exhaust system. So there's a couple of little fold points, but there's no bolt detail or anything like that, so you'd need to put that on yourself, but otherwise they look okay. And there's also some twisted copper cable included for the towing cable, which is actually really nice. The copper makes it really easy to shape, so I really quite like that. It is going to need painting, of course, so you're going to want to put that into shape and then paint it, I guess, but it's very nicely done. Right, we'll take some pictures as we go, and at the end, before we do the summary, you'll be able to have a look at these in close-up. This is the turret, it's our first part out. And I'm just looking at it, it's got lovely bolt detail and lovely weld detail along the top of the turret plate there at the top. Yeah, very nicely done. There is some, you have to look carefully, but maybe get that in the light just there. There is slide mould seam. Slide mould seams are so slight, you have to be really careful or you can miss them. So yeah, I suspected one on the other side as well, but the detail is really nice. Yeah, very good. There's no no lumps on this at all. I don't see any sink on it, so yeah, lovely clean piece of moulding. Next out is our lower hull, sort of semi bathtub, I'd describe it, because we've not got a front end on here at all. But we've got all the detail underneath, which is really nice. Bolt heads are really crisp, and we've got rivets as well. So they've obviously done their research. We've got some weld seam, which again is nicely done. On the back there, we've got all sorts of bits of detail. I don't know if that looks a bit thick to me or not, to be honest. I think we'll need the second part to decide, but it's probably okay. Yeah, and the trouble with parts at this size is you can get imperfections, and I'm not seeing any, so it is well moulded. There is some tiny spot of sink. Let me get my little pointy device. There's some sink there, I can see, but it's not going to be noticeable. It's going to be behind the wheel, so I'm not going to be worried about that. Otherwise, all good, very nice. No, it's not the front of an old Leyland truck. It's actually our rear upper hull plate. It's nicely done, again, with lots of fastener detail and nicely done weld detail. I guess we have some bits mating onto there, but yeah, all very crisp, all lovely. Again, no real issues with it, although it does have a bit of a weird texture. Don't know if the camera can pick that up. It'll probably pick up when I take the photograph, but there's sort of like little lines in it. It's very odd. Well, we have a bag full of these, 18 of them in total, if the instructions are to be believed. They are very nicely done. As I look at them, the holes don't have anything blocking them. They're all very clear. So you've got tabs which are on the hidden side of the of each track link. So although you've got a little bit of sanding cleanup, it doesn't matter too much, because they're not really going to be seen. You're most at risk at seeing them as they go over the front and back wheel, the idler and the drive wheel. But yeah, otherwise, really nicely done. Yeah, I don't see any issues. There's no ejector pin marks on them or anything like that. Yeah, they're quite lovely, they are. And then accompanying them, we have a bag with our pins in. Clear parts, just a small number of clear parts here really. So we've got the large lamp and then the two smaller lamps, and I guess that may be a tail light as well. It does have a different number. I can't remember seeing that on the tank model, to be honest. But yeah, the main big headlamp is very nicely done. Has some, there you go, you can see that. They've really captured that well. So yeah, nice bit of moulding. This is sprue D now, and we've got a number of parts on here, and then we've got the upper surface of the mud guards. When we look at the parts, it's a bit of a mixed bag actually. The actual plates themselves, they're nicely done, and we've got all sorts of little tiny detailed parts which have got lots of detail on. You know, the braces here are nicely done. They look correct. We've got the hose for the exhaust. That also looks good to me. The louvre is nicely done. We've got lovely weld moulding, and then we've got the block here, the jack block. And for me, they should have put a bit of wood grain on, and they haven't, so that's a bit disappointing. They have slide moulded it so that you've got a handle on one end, but there would have been a handle on both ends, so that's a bit disappointing as well. We've got the horn here, which is nicely done with weld seams on and stuff, and opened up nicely. Not quite sure what that is, but it's pretty rough. And we have some flash here on the pipework, not that it's a big issue at all. I don't see any sink on these parts. And then when I look at this, it's got the nice correct anti-slip pattern on top. We've got detail underneath, although there are ejector pins that you're going to have to sort out. They're all raised though, so that's not a difficult job. You're not likely to see them because of the lip. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. That's one of, is that the front? I can't remember whether that's front or back, but it's nicely done. The rivet domes are lovely. The hex heads are okay, all crisp. Yeah, we've even got weld seams on some of these parts here. It's quite subtle, but it's nicely done. Yeah, all in all, okay. Just would like to have seen a bit of wood on that. The jack block isn't so good, unfortunately. Sprue B, we have two of these. They centre all around the suspension in the main, but we do have the exhaust silencer box, and we've got some of the vision ports there. So yeah, where we've got some multiples. The exhaust end has been slide moulded, so it's nicely opened up, so that is nice. Leaf springs, we've got seam on them. You always have seam on leaf springs, always really visible as well, but yeah, the seam is quite heavy, so that needs sorting out. Otherwise everything looks pretty much okay. Leaf spring looks nicely separated. Quite often the grooves are too thick, but these aren't. Yeah, I don't see, I'm assuming that is ejector pins. We're going to have to sand that down on the back of the tyre there. There's no writing, there's no sidewall writing on them, which there would have been. So, but you can't have everything, can you? So yeah, all in all, okay, all good. Our next sprue's got a number of big chunky parts on it. So we've got the main upper hull assembly here. We've got the front glacis plate. We've got the mudguard fronts, which are slide moulded. We've got the turret hatch, turret base. That's one of the optional panels, if you don't want the vision block, and some hatches. First glance, I don't see any moulding issues, so that's good. We've got nice detail on there. A couple of ejector pin holes to sort on the inside, but nothing major. Again, lovely bolt detail, lovely weld detail. I don't know enough about the tank as an individual tank to know whether these are correct fasteners, but we have had hex head bolts, screws, dome head rivets and castellated nuts we've got here. So I'm assuming that they've done their research and got this fairly correct, but it's always worth doing your own, because at this scale you could probably make your own fastener heads and corrections if you needed to, although castellated nuts would be difficult. Yeah, all good, very nice. Okay, penultimate sprue here. Lots of slide moulding going on here. We've got the main lamps there, which do have bulbs in, which is nice. We've got, I'm not quite sure what that part is, but the opening's been put in on slide moulding, and then we've got the mount for the guns, which is nicely moulded. Lots of smaller parts here. The spring, that's okay. It's got quite a heavy seam on it though. Bit of seam issue in places on this kit, but otherwise everything is nice and tight. Yeah, no great issues with this. The guns are a bit precarious sticking out the back here, but they're also slide molded and opened up at the back. The aerial, that's quite meaty, but I'm sure it's to scale. When you've been building 135s, you're used to something a lot thinner, so it takes you a bit by surprise. But yeah, some ejector pin marks there, but I think that's the back side, so you won't see those. So all in all, very nice. Just a bit of standard seam cleanup, really. Final sprue now, sprue A. We have 2 of these in the same bag, and we are building up wheels and bits and pieces. The end of the gun there, 2 pieces, nicely done, but not needed on this particular version of the model, so there is some parts that we won't be using. Some nice slide molded hooks there, they're very nice actually. Yeah, really like those. We've got all these little ejector pins on the tyres, which we're going to have to sort out, but there is cast marks on the wheels, which is a nice touch, and we've also got some lovely sidewall writing on here, so maybe they shouldn't be on there. So yeah, hinges nicely done. Don't see any moulding issues. It's all nice and crisp. Quite a bit of seam though. Some hefty seam clean up, especially on these tyres, but won't be difficult. Yeah, all good. Right then, there you have it. Takom's Panzerkampfwagen Ausf A in 1:16 scale. What is my first impression? well, it's a very nice kit indeed. If we go right from the start, packaging is a good average. You know, nothing wrong with the packaging really. It's a bit loose, but other than that, it's all good. Just be careful when you're storing it, because it is a bit flimsy. Instructions appeared to be okay, easy to follow, nice and clear. Didn't particularly strike me that you'd want to rework the build sequence. I personally would go through it and renumber it a little bit, because you've got multiple steps within a step, and I like to be able to focus on one step at a time, so I'll just add some numbers in. The actual parts themselves, well, it would have been nice to have had a bit of photo etch for the clips here, on some of the tools and stuff like that, but the essential thing is the manifold covers, and they've done that. I think the moulding in the main is pretty good. There's quite a bit of heavy seam on it, but that's not unusual with Takom kits in my experience. Accuracy, from the knowledge I have of the Panzer one, it looks all right, but I haven't gone and counted rivets and stuff like that, so you know, I'm probably not going to. I'm just going to get some reference pictures for African vehicles. One thing I will say is, in most pictures you ever see of a Panzerkampfwagen 1, it doesn't tend to have these on. They seem to be taken off in the field fairly sharpish, which sort of makes sense, as it's a clogging point, isn't it, potentially. Yeah, plastic parts, all good really. Photo etch, all good. Decals, yeah, nothing wrong with them. A lot of film on them. You might want to trim some of that down. Just be careful laying them down. Plenty of softener and seal them, and you should be okay. So yeah, all in all, a lovely kit. Now, I bought some figures for this, so I've got a commander and a little chap sitting outside, which just animates it a little bit. I think it's a lovely little kit, and well, it's not so little really, is it? But for 1/16 scale, it's not going to take up too much display space, and you could probably put it on a little sandy diorama with just the tank on its own, the two figures on a base, and it look pretty good, I reckon. So at this scale, you can sort of take every sort of individual piece as a little model project in its own right. There is scope here to do some improvement, I think, in places. So like the tool clips and stuff, if you can source some aftermarket ones, that would be a nice little upgrade as well. Yeah, otherwise, pretty good. I don't see any real issues with it. I'm looking forward to building it at some point. So there you go. Nice little kit. I hope that was useful and you enjoyed that. If you were looking at buying the kit, you now know what you get in the box. So until next time, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit the like button, and you enjoy your modelling. And I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.